Hey guys, welcome back to Just a Geek in the Garage. Today I want to talk about some Wiha tools right here. I've heard a lot of good things about Wiha, but I've never had any of their tools in the past. Honestly, I apologize. I'm not sure if it's pronounced Wiha or Viha. I've heard it both ways, but I'm going to go with Wiha for now, unless unless you want to guys correct me in the comments down below. But I've heard a lot of good things about them, especially this little set right here. And this thing's been sitting in my Amazon cart for a very, very long time. But a few weeks back, maybe a month ago or so, a website called House of Tools, that's Haus, House of Tools was having a special where if you spend $100 on Wiha tools, they threw in these screwdrivers which have a 1,000-volt rating, on them. Just non-conducting screwdrivers. And for as far as German tools are concerned, I've tried some other ones, but I definitely wanted to give Wiha a shot. And as far as non-conducting screwdrivers, I do have a couple sets from Pittsburgh, Quinn, things like that. But if you're putting your life on the line with a non-conducting tool, something like a known name brand that's known for quality, you definitely want to trust your life to it a little bit more than something like a Pittsburgh. Again, nothing wrong with Harbor Freight. I love Harbor Freight. If you guys have seen my other videos, own a ton of Pittsburgh, Quinn, Icon stuff. But again, when you're with something that's as sensitive as this, I think a brand like Wiha would be a great way to go. But anyways, they were giving this out for free, which is normally $20 for this set of 2 screwdrivers. If you spend $100, this thing was about $37. And then I also bought a set of 3 pliers, which I haven't gotten yet. They were back ordered, but it came with a lineman's, a diagonal cutter, and a needle nose. So I'll do a review on that when I do get that in the mail. Excuse me. But I just want to talk a little bit more about this set right here. So this is a set that I've seen a lot in different videos. Again, like I said, I've had this thing in my Amazon cart forever. But what I didn't realize is that this thing actually comes in a bunch of different varieties. And usually the varieties, the main difference is going to be the bits. I mean, they have one of these where it's like all Torx. They have one where they have, smaller bits for smaller fasteners. But after doing my research a little bit, I decided to go with this set specifically. And the main reason why is that these guys are actually impact rated, which is pretty awesome. And I'll talk about why that's useful for me in a second. But it was also the best kind of mix of bits for me personally. It comes with Torx. I wish these were security Torx, but that's okay. I don't use security as much as regular Torx. It does come with both metric and standard hex, which is very, very important to me, especially the metric ones. And then has Robertson bits, and then Phillips and Posi drive, things like that. The only thing it doesn't really have is slotted, as you can see, but I don't really use slotted that often, and especially not in impact. That would seem to be a disaster if you were to use something like that. At least for me it would be. But the other thing that I thought was really, really cool that I didn't know until after I received this set, and actually kind of found out about it out of frustration, was this little extension that comes with it. So let me just kind of put it in here. So, this thing functions just like any other, bit driver. It's not pass-through or anything like that, but it's more similar to, if you guys are familiar with this Sun X set right here, it's not that dissimilar from this set, except for obviously the size of the case is significantly smaller. And this one only comes with about 6 more bits. I think this has 30 bits and this has 36, but all things being equal, having a case this small is pretty awesome. So it was nice being compact. And as a side note, it's metal, and you don't see metal cases as much anymore like you used to. But let me kind of go on as far as the extension. So if you're anything like me, I tend to, build a lot of furniture, whether it's like IKEA type furniture, Amazon furniture, but a lot of times it has, a hex bit or a hex fastener on there. And, to make things faster, I tend to use a drill when I'm doing that, usually on like, a lower torque setting. And the problem that I always have is, I'll be using it, and I usually use just kind of a standard extension. Where is it? Something like this guy right here that's just magnetic. And then what seems to happen on almost every other fastener is, it's on there. You drill it in, you go to take it out, and then the bit stays with the fastener. And because those are such cheap fasteners, a lot of times it's kind of dug in there where it's either hard to get off or you have to take a set of pliers to take it off. So it's always been frustrating to the point where sometimes I ditch this and put the bit directly into the drill. But this little extension is pretty awesome because, you put the bit in just like normal. And then when I first got this, I tried to take this thing out and I was like, what is wrong? I thought the ball detent was very tight or something. And I'm like, there's something wrong here. And I couldn't get it out. And then I kind of looked at it and I realized, oh, all you got to do is right here where these little grooves are. You just kind of press it back. You can probably see, oops, sorry, move the camera. You can see that right there, how it moves just a little bit. Let me get that in focus. And as it moves, it just ejects the bit. So this is something that I think is going to be extremely, extremely useful because, when I'm in the warehouse, I usually carry around an impact. That's what I use most often generally, if I can get this thing back in. And the fact that this thing comes with a locking extension and impact rated bits, and on top of all of that, would fit very, very easily in either a pocket or in a tool belt, which I'm usually wearing a tool belt. Fit much better than something like this, or even something like this, where a lot of people talk about putting in your pocket. And again, it's even much smaller than this guy right here. It doesn't seem like it on video, but in person you can tell just how much slimmer and smaller overall profile. Don't get me wrong, I love this guy. This is a great set that everyone talks about, but as far as efficiency of spacing, this thing is great. And this one's actually cheaper as a retail price, at least. This one's $39.99. Obviously always goes on sale. You can usually get it for $27 or around there at Harbor Freight. But this thing for $37 is a couple of dollars cheaper than this guy retail. Doesn't have it's not a pass-through design or a locking flex head, but for what it's worth, it's a great one. And these bits, to my knowledge, are not impact rated, or at least I've never tried them for impact. So again, this video is kind of more just about Wiha tools in general. Definitely, I think I waited too long. I wish I would have bought this thing sooner than I actually did, just for all the reasons I just said. The locking extension is awesome. The impact bits are awesome, especially in a small set like this. You don't see a small set like this with impact bits that often, or at least I don't. And like I said, just having that metal is kind of nostalgic to seeing some of the old school tools, and getting a free couple of screwdrivers along with it was definitely a bonus. So I'll put links in the description to these, and I'll also put for the pliers that I bought, just so you can kind of see what I'm waiting for. And then I will, like I mentioned, do another video once I do get those pliers. So that way I have kind of like a nice set of Wiha tools, so I can kind of judge them, or at least try them out compared to some other tools. And I figure having a set of screwdrivers, a bit driver, and some pliers is a good way to start with that. One side note, I think I've tossed the box for this already. This is not made in Germany, unfortunately, but these guys are. So one kind of side note, if that's something that you're considering. And then just a real quick side note while on the House of Tools, I actually also bought this guy at the same time. It was their tool of the week. This is called the Zykop Mini 4, I believe. There it is, Zykop Mini 4. I know there's been lots of videos about this, but this thing is pretty awesome. And this one is by Wera, not by Wiha. But I decided to pick it up. It was on sale. Still $32, pretty expensive for something this small. But a couple cool things about it. One is that it fits. It's a hex head right here that fits in any 1/4 inch hex head, which is pretty nice. You can add an extension. You can add it into, a bit driver. But what I've decided to use it on, and I know other people have done this as well, is on this icon set, which I know a lot of people were upset about this ratchet right here versus a bit driver, but this kind of solves your problem. It's kind of an expensive way to solve your problem, but what I've basically done is I just kind of let it live right there. This sits right on top of it, and it fits perfectly. You can even close it, move it around. As you can see, you don't really hear anything, and as I open it up, it's still exactly where I put it. And then you can, use it basically either with the extension that comes with it right here to make it a little bit longer if you would like, or if you're looking for something even with more of kind of a cushion grip, you can basically put it in, oops, wrong way. You can put it here and here, and you have yourself a nice longer cushion grip ratchet or bit driver. So just a thought. I may do a separate video about this, but I just wanted to mention it here while I was talking about House of Tools. So, tell me, what do you guys think? If you guys already have Wiha tools, do you guys like them? Is there anything else I should check out other than their plier sets, and then these tools that I already showed here? And then what's your experience with House of Tools if you guys have ever used them before? I'm actually, I'm not affiliated with them in any way, shape, or form. I just found out about them. I was watching one of Doc's videos, and it was about this Knipex right here that was, constantly out of stock everywhere, and being, people were adding, some extra fees to this, so you couldn't get it for just the regular retail price. They mentioned checking out House of Tools, which I did. I was able to get this just for the regular retail price along with its bigger brother, and they actually threw in a hat while I was purchasing from there, and they're located in the United States. I thought I was actually out of the country. So tell me, what do you guys think about, the experience with them if you guys have ever tried them? With that, thank you guys so much for watching. Please like and subscribe.